Swimming with a 20-foot alligator or a man-eating shark is never on our to-do list, but we still decide to go watch these movies for the enjoyment of these horrific thrills. Scary movies tend to stick around in our minds later on and only for a little while, but when you jump into an ocean again after some of these films, let's just say, be aware of what's lurking. The fear of not knowing what's in the water or what the water is capable of doing is some frightening stuff. In fact, some of these blockbusters trigger the extreme fear of water, also known as aquaphobia. Any movie that takes place in or around a body of water can be included in this list. We will be looking at the most frightening and nerve-wracking movies that impacted the viewers in a significant way.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
In this list, we'll be counting down the top 5 movies that made the audience scared of going into the water. The Host is a Korean film directed by Bong Joon-ho, which takes place in South Korea after careless Americans dump all of their unneeded chemicals into South Korea's Han River. Several years later, a mutated, deformed creature emerges from the murky waters, and this thing isn't too cuddly. The monster kills anything that it can wrap its tail around and leaves the community running for their lives. After the creature abducts a vendor's child, the man is willing to do absolutely anything to find her and bring her back home himself, because no one else thinks she's still alive. Even though this movie does take place on land, the water is where the beast is safe and comfortable. Therefore, the water is out of bounds. No more feeding the ducks. Unfortunately, the main character does end up losing his whole family by the end of the movie, and seeks great vengeance. However, in these powerful and final scenes, the creature endures the brutality of those trying to kill it. At this moment, it is more understood that it is just a clueless creature trying to survive. The Host had a budget of $11 million, made $90 million in the box office, and has a score of 85 from Metacritic, which is a reputable site. After a man is brutally killed from a mysterious creature in a lake, a sheriff, warden, and paleontologist go visit to see what they can make of it. They look for clues and find a tooth that the beast left behind. Later on, they discover it is an enormous alligator that is ready to eat anything that swims in or around the water.
Okay.
They try to stop the alligator, but people just end up dying. The practical alligator looks quite realistic, but the CGI on the other hand is pretty outdated. Cliche? Little bit. Cheesy? Kinda. Water scary? Absolutely. This movie makes your next trip to the cottage a little regretful. Lake Placid had a budget of $27 million, made $57 million in the box office, and got a score of 34. Sheesh.
Important?
Yes, I think it is. Very important.
Creature from the Black Lagoon, directed by Jack Arnold, takes place in a mysterious jungle where scientists enter the domain of a prehistoric gilt man. It is discovered to be the last of its kind, in which it is then tranquilized, captured, and brought aboard. Of course, the creature still escapes and kills people while doing so. The man in the creature suit actually had to force himself to hold his breath for long takes because the suit didn't have enough room for scuba gear. Although this was definitely worth it because of the paranoia brought to the audience from scenes such as the creature swimming under the girl while she had no clue. And this scene echoed for many movies to come. What looks like a joke to us now terrified the audience back in the 1950s, as this movie was even presented in 3D. The budget for this movie is unknown, but the box office made $1.6 million and it got a score of 84.
take 32.
Piranha is set at a summer resort river, although this isn't much of a vacation for these tourists.
There's something strange in the water at Lost River Lake.
The visitors are under attack by ferocious, genetically altered piranhas in which they were released into the river accidentally.
Something you can't see, something you can't feel, until it's too late.
This bloodbath movie is a parody to the film Jaws, which had recently been a major success. Initially, Universal Studios considered an injunction because of the movie's satirizing, but the lawsuit was cancelled, allowing the film to continue. Later on, when the film was released, the film was actually a critical and commercial success. Further down the road, multiple sequels were made. The movie used puppets, models, and stop motion to create the piranhas, but made it look believable enough to still scare the living daylight out of most of the audience and made the water their new enemy. Piranha had a budget of $660,000, made $16 million in the box office, and got a score of 72.
The deadliest man-eaters of all.
Jaws, directed by Steven Spielberg, takes place on Amity Island where a young woman is killed by a shark. A police chief rationally wants to close down the beaches, but the mayor fears it will lose too many tourists. Thus, it remains open. Unexpectedly, the shark just ends up killing more people, so the chief, a captain, and an ichthyologist go searching for the shark. Little did they know it would be a brutal but epic battle of man versus nature. Jaws is the 7th highest grossing film of all time in Canada and the United States. It has a total of 128,078,000 admissions. This movie deserves the #1 spot on the list as it still makes people terrified of water to this day, unlike some of the other older films. Jaws had a budget of $7 million, made $471 million in the box office, and got a score of 86.